Hi, I'm Ingo from RA, and today I want to show you how to work with multiple measurement files in DiagRA X Viewer Pro. Before we start, let me give you an idea on what the use cases are for having multiple measurement files. When calibrating an ECU, you usually have some measurement values which represent the system's behavior which you want to improve. Each time you change parameters, you need to perform a test run and compare the recorded values with the values of the previous test run. Sometimes it may be sufficient to do the comparison live in the calibration tool, but often you end up having loads of recording files which can only be compared later, offline. For example, if different environmental conditions must be covered, like weather conditions, day and night drive, different road gradients, you will have multiple measurement files. Or if you have multiple calibration datasets to be tested and compared, you will have multiple measurement files. Or if you have multiple recording devices, for example DiagRA X, as well as a separate data logger in the car. In this case, even one recording session will result in 2 measurement files which you want to put together. In DiagRA X Viewer Pro, you can load and analyze any number of recording files. In this video, I will show you how to load and manage multiple measurement files, how to find and differentiate the variables of interest, how to use the oscilloscope to align the measurements in both time and value dimensions, and how to export the aligned data. Start with an empty configuration and throw in some recording files. For each dropped file, you get an entry in the measurement file list. Here you can add, replace, remove and duplicate measurement files. Each file has a unique file ID represented by a little file icon containing a number. This file ID is used everywhere in the tool where we need to uniquely identify contents of a file, such as sources or variables. On the right side, you can see some detailed information about the selected file. The time offset is a time duration which is added to the timestamps given in the file. This way it is possible to synchronize the individual time axes of the files, which is needed because the files usually have different reference times. In this view you can edit the time offset manually. I will show you in a minute how to adjust it much more intuitively in the oscilloscope. Now that we have loaded the files, we need to decide which variables to look at. For that I leave the configuration view and enter the variables manager. On the left side you can see the filters for files and sources, and in the center you can see the corresponding list of variables. If I don't select any filter, I can see all variables from all files. For example, the voltage value exists 2 times, once in each file. To find out to which sources and files the variables belong, I add the columns file ID and source ID to the table. I can see now that the first one belongs to file 1 and the second to file 2. The combination of file and source ID together with the name is sufficient to uniquely identify a variable within the whole configuration. This can be very important if you have many more measurement files. As I want to compare the 2 voltage sensor variables, I assign both to the oscilloscope. In the oscilloscope, for comparing the 2 variables, the first thing you want to do is to group them together so that they share a common y-axis. If you don't do that, the variables may have different y-axis scales, making comparisons very difficult. So I choose group axis with measured limits to get synchronized axis and a nice default zoom on the data. To compare, for example, the minimum voltages in detail, I want to align them in time so that the peaks are close together. The oscilloscope offers several ways to do that. One way is to use the file's time axis. You can expand the area below the time axis to reveal all the file's time axis. Here you can grab an axis and drag it. This will instantly move all the variables of the corresponding file. Or you can double-click anywhere on the axis and type in the new offset manually. Or you can use the context menu and choose one of the file's events to align the axis to. In this case, however, the curves have a clear and similar shape, and I just want to move one peak roughly over the other. For that I don't need to bother with file axis. Instead, I can simply grab the curve by holding the Ctrl and Shift keys and drag it horizontally. After aligning in time, I can use my cursor to inspect the differences in the voltage minimum. To complete our round trip for multiple measurement files, I will export the voltage data. In the Measurement Data Export dialog, I choose to export all variables within the oscilloscope. Under Options, I can decide whether to apply the currently used time offsets or to export the original timestamps from the individual files. By leaving this option unchecked, the exported data will reflect the well-aligned graphs which we see in the oscilloscope. Check it though if you need to preserve the exact original timestamps. Alright, let's recap. I opened two MDF files in DiagRA X Viewer Pro. I identified two variables of interest using the file and source IDs and assigned them to the oscilloscope. I used group axis to synchronize the y-axis scaling and showed how to manipulate time offsets with drag and drop to align the graphs in time. Finally, I exported the aligned data to a text file for further post-processing. So that shall be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care and thanks for watching.